Does a bad boss make your job harder? Stay tuned and find out. Welcome, everyone, to the Shut Up and Work podcast. I am your host, the coach, and along with me is the other two hosts, which is SJ and Rifa. And today we're going to talk about, does a bad boss make your job harder? So without further hesitation, let's jump right into it. Now, I want you to imagine something. Imagine you finally got that dream job you have always wanted, or pretty close to it. You're happy to go to work in the morning, or at least you're settled in a positive mood. You're all joyful when you wake up and ready to get to work. The environment you work in, everybody is nice. All your coworkers, y'all work together. Nobody's trying to stick a knife in your back or stab your toes or step on them or anything in that nature. Everybody seems to have common ground. And then your supervisor respects you for your work ethic, your knowledge, your skills and abilities. And when you leave your job in the afternoon or in that evening, you have confidence that you know that you made a difference in this company or organization. Now, let's flip it. Let's say all of a sudden that great supervisor you had ups and leaves the job, whether they retire or take another job somewhere else.
Please, no, no, no!
And that company replaces him or her with bad business Billy or Betty. This supervisor is all about themselves, and their goal is to make it to the top by all means necessary. That's right. They don't give a damn about you and the other employees. All they care about
is this shit should have been done months ago.
And when I say shit, I'm talking about whatever production or whatever you do at this job. So in order to impress upper management, he or she, they don't want to look like no punk. They're going to come in there with an iron fist like a dictator. And they're going to make every little small mistake seem critical, like it's the end of the damn world. They are going to stop the camaraderie between you and your coworkers, and they're going to develop that divide. So y'all will start going at each other and trying to step on each other and start stabbing each other in the back. And then the bad part about this, they're going to ramp up the deadlines, times that stuff needs to be completed so you can sweat. You may have to work extra hours. You start stressing out in this case. And the boss, after all this chaos they've caused, they get a kick out of it. They get a kick out of overworking you, frustrating you, and demeaning and marginalizing the employees. So now, real quick, here are some harmful effects when these type of things start happening to the employees. One, employees, they become confused and hesitant on what they're doing. And the reason why, because they're afraid if they make a mistake or ask the wrong question, that boss is going to flip on them and go out and turn into a mad tirade and start cussing them out or telling them they're incompetent in doing their job. Two, the employees, you become delusional and you start second guessing and quadruple checking your work. Yes, I said quadruple checking, meaning you're going to feel so scared or less confident about what you're doing that you're going to be overly checking on your project or whatever it is you need to get done. And then in that situation, what's going to happen is it's going to back up the other projects that are coming down the pipeline. So you're going to get behind and have to work more hours. And then the third thing is employees then they're going to start looking for other jobs, and it's going to be the damn good employees that was bringing that creativity and that good teamwork there to that company. So now, while they're saying, hey, the hell with this, I'm going to quit and go somewhere else, or employees, if they got leave time, they're going to start calling in sick. Hey, I got to take my squirrel to the doctor, excuses like that. Y'all have heard it before in situations. So now the productivity is taking even more of a dump because when those people are not there, or if they quit and go to another job, you got to go and hire somebody else to come in and do the job. And then you got to get them up to speed. They got to learn how everything is working when you should have just kept the person that you already had there that was doing a great job for you, but you hired a jackass to run the department or the company. Now, even with all this said, there's still research and articles and people out there doing workshops that come to say, oh, well, the boss has no control over whether your job is made harder or whether it's made easier. And there is no such thing as a bad boss. Forbes wrote an article back in August 2011 saying there's no such thing as bad leadership. And in this article, they were using examples from dictators, powerful dictators that ran countries that committed genocide against people, and saying, hey, there's no such thing as bad leadership because everybody followed them. But they failed to mention the fact that everybody followed them because they didn't want their head on the stake or be shot to death on a pole or something in that nature. And then a year later, the Harvard Business Review also wrote an article saying that,
well, bad bosses, they only really make up about less than 20% in the workforce.
and last thing I want to say, yours truly, when I was working, I had coworkers tell me that I'm over exaggerating. There's no such thing as a bad boss. I went to HR and talked to HR professionals, union stewards, and they would say, oh, this person, he's really a good guy. Or this female, she just having a hard time. She had a baby and all this stuff. So I have heard bad bosses being defended by many professionals, including employees that they are oppressing in this situation. So, with all that being said, I'm gonna hand it over, and whoever's going first, what do you guys think about that?
So as far as situation like that, I mean, I've been in the situation where, I mean, I was the boss. I've been in a situation where I was the employee. So I mean, there are people out there that are put into a leadership position that, again, they might be book smart, they might come straight out of college to where they know all the ins and out. But sometimes when you're actually on the floor doing the work, situation of difference. So a lot of these people that come in as bosses, they come in pushing numbers and pushing papers. Uh, they do tend to end up like, the coach was saying, to where it's all about the what are you doing for me now, know what you've done before. And you know, situation I was in that end up like that was, actually I came into a company to where the previous boss was given a ultimatum. So either your family or work. So him being the way he is, or whoever he or she decided to choose family instead of work. So
Oh,
again, me,
smart, smart.
yeah. So again, me coming in, they just brought me in from another city. I didn't find out till I think like 2 3 weeks once into job to into the position when I find out the reason why the previous person left. So, long story short, again, I ran across the same situation with the same person. And I think I spoke about this in a couple of, might be the last podcast that we had, to
Mhm.
where within 6 months, she was expecting so much from me, to where again, I'm new to the company. There's still a lot to learn as far as details, as far as the software and program that they use to analyze reports and stuff like that. So again, I ran into the same situation to where she was telling me that it wasn't going to work out, and I had to deal with the same thing. And not even that, because I also have employees that were under me, to where they've been there for. Matter of fact, there was like three of them originally when I came, and within like 2 weeks, me being in that position, two more of those individuals decide that they're gonna find another position to go, or another company, which they left, and I pretty much had to fight and beg the last person, which he's been with the company for like 30 some years, and but he was only doing part time, so I don't think he really necessarily need that job to survive. It was something fun for him. So long story short, I was able to get him to stay. But again, we do have people in position that don't need to be in a position. And unfortunately, but those are the people that get promoted. Those are the people that, we always end up being in charge. So that's kind of my personal experience. I have to deal with a boss that kind of like it just slave driving, and what's funny about it, it was in a situation to where our boss was pushing her. She was just so determined to being the next CEO, regional manager, to where that was her motivation. So whatever it takes is what she's willing to do.
And during that time of serving under that boss, was she getting on to you about being mean or trying to clamp down on your employees that served under you?
Oh yeah, she the one that I actually begged to stay. She said, "Well, he's not producing. All the other ones like they comparing them to the other stores as far as volume wise. Well, if this person is doing so much numbers down the week, then this guy's supposed to do the same thing." But what they failed to realize is, after being in the same position for over 30 years, customers and people tend to know you. And even though you're doing your best, again, it's a situation. It was a secret shopper situation. So, and the whole idea is to catch shoplifters, and you dress just like a regular person. You're walking around. So after, I guess, 5 years or 10 years, people gonna know, hey, this guy worked there. Of course, your production is not gonna be there as somebody that's brand new, to where a lot of these people are not used to seeing. So I mean, of course, it's trying to push him out, and pretty much, hey, you need to ride him up because his number is not where he's supposed to be. And so, I mean, I have to go behind, with me knowing the rules and regulations as far as riding people up. So I will it a different way, to where, hey, hey, I just pretty much told the employee, look, whenever you go out there to stop somebody, whenever you see something, and for some reason it didn't turn out to be a case, you need to document it, what happened, so that way they could see that you all going out there doing what you're supposed to do. The fact that you're not bringing somebody in doesn't mean you're not doing your job. And again, the whole purpose is to keep merchandise in the building, not not for numbers to get, let's try and see as many people you could catch. So anyway, that's what I gotta say about that.
Yeah, and I have another question for you. So when the previous boss before you arrived, you told me her ultimatum, which was, hey, family or job. And she said, hey, the hell with you. I'm going with family.
Mhm.
Were you given that same ultimatum?
Oh yeah, pretty much. Hey, it was the same situation. Says 3 months into the way, it's not really working out, and either you do this and do that. So with me being the way I am, and yes, I'm still new to the company. I'm still trying to learn, but I'm a self motivator. I mean, I motivate myself, and I'm hard headed. It's one of those to where I'm not gonna let somebody just demeaning what I've done or what I'm learning, just because they don't. I guess they don't see what they think they should be seeing. So I'm like, if this person's trying to get rid of me, they're gonna have to go through HR. And again, 10 years later, I was still there because there was no base to
Mhm.
what she was trying to push. Because again, I'm new to the company. There's still a lot to learn. And prior to me accepting the position, I was told it's going to take about a year or two for you to really get acclimated with all the paperwork, all the software and stuff like that. So it's just a personal deal between her and me, or either that she got somebody else, like she did me coming, have me coming in. She probably got somebody else that she's trying to bring in. to replace me with just like she did the previous person.
Great point. Great point. Now, in your previous company, did you have any HR or equal employment opportunity? I'm trying to think of all these fake places that are supposed to help you when you run into trouble with a manager or employees or whatever in that situation. Did you have anything like that? A union steward you could go to?
Oh, I mean, there's no union, but the company does have an HR department that's supposed to be separated from the store side, which you could go in and vent and talk to them about situation. But again, me being the position that I'm in and the retail environment, it's never a situation where you could tell one person that within 2 days or more that the person you're talking about is not going to find out about it. So it's
Yeah.
one of those, so I have to go along with strategically to where it wasn't me. Okay, well, he's just upset because he's not doing well and yada yada yada. But again, it wasn't like when she brought it up, it wasn't something on paper that proved that that saying, okay, you've been here for so long, you're supposed to do this. There was nothing written or analytically that she could push toward. Okay, you're not doing this. I think it was just
Aha.
it was just a personal push.
Yeah, yeah, and I know exactly where you're going because that was going to be my next thing, which we can kind of touch on that for a second. Is one of the things when you have a very authoritative boss where they're doing the things that you are describing here, they tend to step over the boundary of what is the rules, policies, and procedures of the company and organization. And I love that you bringing up this point because that was one of the things that I was going to say. This is how you counteract that type of boss or situation. Because I don't care where it is, what industry you're in, they tend to do that when they are all about themselves. And like you said, they're going to sneak in their little thoughts and what you should be doing and how you should do it and things in that nature. It's all about that authoritarian leadership and the style that they have. Because if you don't do it exactly their way, it's totally wrong. Or if you don't believe exactly how they believe, you're totally wrong. So that is a great point that you just brought up on that. And anything else?
No, that's I mean, just to the first, me and her became real good friends. I guess the deal.
Oh,
I mean, it's a little strange because I mean, she was still the same way she is, but I
uh-huh.
was able to. I mean, see the fact that we went through that situation, so I guess she realized that okay, well, this guy, is a self made person, and I can't just push him around. So kind of build that relationship. But again, it was just been the fact that I have to deal with that.
Mhm.
It was real strange.
Is it something you want to share with us? How you actually did that? Because I think what you're telling me basically in code is that, you went on and just took her in the back room somewhere in the closet and
Hey!
Hey, girl. What's up?
Hey.
you tighten her up and she loosened up and she saw the flowers and the butterflies in the field, you know,
Nah,
like Little House on the Prairie and stuff. She's running through the field.
no, really. I mean, again, it's one of those the way I stood around the one guy that stood with me as far as the employee. I mean, again, it's just after the first year. I mean, the numbers as far as accomplishment that between me and the new guy, and then I also brought two more new people in the company to where the number was just like where it's supposed to be better than the year previously. So again, it's one of those she was just pushing so hard, thinking within 6 months things gonna get done. I'm not sure exactly what her goal was within that 6 months. Whatever
Mhm.
it is, she didn't get it then. But again, it's one of those where I'm just consistent, and I'm one of those people to where I'm not gonna let you just. I mean, I'm quiet, but I'm still not gonna let you push me around. Again, I was able to get to where I mean, once I got acclimated with the company, with a lot of the paperwork and stuff like that, and of course the numbers start coming in. So, and I think she could see that. So whenever I mean she comes in, she does like visits, store visits and stuff like that, and I'm always on point on questions and stuff she's asking me. So she really realized, okay, well, hey, this guy ain't going nowhere, so I might as well just stick with him.
Yeah, and great point. Now, me, I wasn't so fortunate in that because I was always the employee. Whereas you came in, you was a first line supervisor. And I guess assuming this woman, she was upper management or middle management in that case.
Yes, upper management.
Yeah. So you came in. So from an employee perspective, I wasn't that successful in dealing with those type of bosses. Now, and what I mean with that is not that they were able to fire me or kick me out of that position. It was just that I wasn't successful in getting like a promotion or bonus in that situation because I knew what the policies and procedures were. That's the first thing that I learned when you get those type of authoritarian bosses. And then in that situation, as you were stating, when they do try to come to me and try to make me overstep out of that or do something that is unethical from there, then I was able to check them on it and say, well, hey, this is not the rules. Here, right here in this standard, it says that we should be performing and we should be doing this, this, and this. And my job says right here in the policy or in the rules that I should be doing X, Y, and Z, not B, C, D, or nothing in that nature.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely understand that. But again, promotion wasn't in, it wasn't in my future with her. So again, I didn't get promoted to like 3 years later after she left. So I mean, again, it just I kept on grinding, and again, it's one of those to where I build rapport with other managers and other district managers the way they know, what, they can't just come up and tell this guy, okay, do this, and that when that he's gonna do what he's supposed to do, and I'm not easily pushed out of a location.
Right,
Plus,
right. I got you. So with that being said, the last thing that I want to cover, and you, as I stated a few moments ago, you kind of already kind of alluded on one of them. Is there a such thing as a bad boss? Yes or no?
oh, I definitely. But I mean, there is bad bosses everywhere. I mean, there's definitely bad boss that incompetent, boss that are just not necessarily. They more of a, I guess, not necessarily a boss. They're more of a dictator instead of actually team player.
Right, exactly. So I just wanted to make sure that I wasn't crazy because as I stated earlier, a lot of people always stated that
Oh no, you're just overreacting. Oh no, John is a great person and all this stuff.
I
and
mean,
so with that being said, out there for the people that are listening, if you do run into this situation where you have a bad boss, a few things that you can do. One is always try to seek and find a solution before the problem arises. So if you know your job, you know the daily operations, and if another employee, you see them struggling with something, or you know something is about to go wrong that pertains to your daily task and pertains to you completing your task for the day, then try to find a solution and solve it, to avoid going to that boss. The second thing is if you notice something that your boss doesn't like doing, you can approach this one or two ways. And one way you can approach it is you can be the good angel and weave those tasks into your daily tasks and try to do it for your boss and be a good little boy or girl for your boss and maybe get a pat on the head. Or what I used to do in that situation, I noticed my boss doesn't like something like, let's say, going to meetings. I would always go to the boss and tell him, hey, there's a meeting on concrete placement. Would you like to go? There's a meeting on a roof placement for this project. Would you like to go? I would always bring it up to my boss. Hey, this is what I'm doing, the thing that they don't like. And I would always make that invitation to try to involve them or invite them to come to that task that they don't like. And that way, that raised them off my line in that situation and made them leave me alone. And then the last thing I just want to give a tip is say hold your boss accountable to the company or organization's rules, policies, procedures, bylaws, whatever you call them. And that's kind of what me and Rifa was alluding to earlier is especially authoritative bosses, they will try to overstep and try to get you to do something that is not in the regular procedures, policies, rules. They'll try to get you to overstep just to satisfy their thirst in whatever that they're trying to get done for themselves. So
Yeah.
go ahead, Rifa.
So, and definitely, you know what I mean. There are micromanagers out there. So again, when if you get into that situation, just if you know your job, ins and out, what you're supposed to. Don't let anybody run you out. Stay true. There is HR that I mean, again, even though my situation, I said I didn't deal with HR, but there's a way to talk through HR and and do things you're supposed to do to where it doesn't. I mean, it might be a backfire later on, but at least you still get to keep your job, you still get to keep your position. But just keep in mind, there are micromanagers, and sometimes bosses will micromanage you just because again there's something they got somebody else they want to take over your position, or for some reason they don't like you. That's when they start micromanaging. But again, you gotta flip that around, because micromanaging, they tell you what to do, they expect a certain time. You know what? If that's what they want, if you're okay with it, and do everything they do, they're asking you to, because eventually they're gonna run out of excuses trying to mess with you. Eventually, they're gonna have to just relax, and then you get to do your job.
Good point. Great points there to give out there to the people some great gems. So you know what time it is. So with that being said, are we gonna shut up on this subject, or are we gonna keep working on it where we may cross this bridge at a future date and bring this subject up again?
Yeah, I think I believe we should keep working on it, because even though we might not be going through it, there's always people out there that are going through it every day.
All right. Well, that sounds good. And also everyone out there, if you like the content that we're bringing you, please, by all means, subscribe, like, share, comment, and tell a friend, tell a friend, tell a family member what we do, and tune in and listen to Shut Up and Work podcast. So with that being said, that concludes this segment of Shut Up and Work. Thank you for tuning in, everyone.